The resignation letter trembled in Chloe's hands as she stood outside the corner office, heart pounding. Inside, Martin Ashford, the man who'd unraveled her completely just 12 hours ago, sat waiting. She'd made a mistake, a beautiful, devastating mistake. One night had cost her everything, her professionalism, her carefully built walls, her future at Ashford Enterprises. But as the door opened, and his storm-grey eyes locked onto hers with an intensity that stole her breath, Chloe realized something terrifying. He wasn't going to let her go. Not now. Not ever. The crisp, white envelope felt like a weapon in Chloe Williams's hand as she stood in the marble corridor of Ashford Enterprises' executive floor, 57 stories above Manhattan. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city stretched endlessly, a glittering tapestry of steel and ambition under the pale morning light. She'd always loved this view. Now it felt like watching something beautiful slip through her fingers. Her reflection stared back at her from the polished chrome, a 28-year-old woman in a navy Saint Laurent suit that had cost her 3 months' worth of careful savings, her natural curls pulled into a sleek, low bun, her dark skin glowing against the cool tones of the power outfit she'd chosen like armor. She looked composed, professional, untouchable. She was none of those things. Behind that door, Martin Ashford was waiting. And 12 hours ago, she'd let him see every vulnerable, unguarded piece of herself she'd spent a lifetime learning to hide. Chloe closed her eyes, but the memories crashed over her anyway. 24 hours earlier. The Manhattan skyline penthouse glittered like something from a dream, all champagne towers and crystal chandeliers, with the city sprawling below like a kingdom made of light. Chloe moved through the crowd with practiced ease, her emerald silk gown catching the light with every step, her tablet discreetly tucked against her side as she monitored the evening's carefully orchestrated chaos. The Ashford Enterprises annual gala, 300 of New York's most powerful players, $500,000 raised for pediatric cancer research, and one very demanding boss who expected perfection. She'd delivered. She always did. Ms. Williams. A waiter appeared at her elbow with a tray of champagne flutes. Mr. Ashford requested you join him on the terrace when you have a moment. Chloe's pulse quickened, a reaction she'd been fighting for 6 months now, ever since the moment she'd stopped seeing Martin Ashford as just her boss and started noticing the way his rare smiles transformed his entire face. The elegance of his hands when he was thinking, the unexpected gentleness in his voice when he thought no one was listening. Dangerous thoughts, unprofessional thoughts. She'd built her entire career on being indispensable and invisible, the perfect assistant who anticipated every need, solved every problem, and never, ever crossed a line. But tonight, something felt different. The terrace was quieter, the autumn air cool against her bare shoulders. Manhattan stretched in every direction, and for a moment, Chloe let herself breathe, really breathe, for the first time in hours. You've outdone yourself tonight. She turned to find Martin standing in the doorway, his tuxedo tailored to perfection, his dark hair slightly disheveled from running his hands through it. A tell she'd learned meant he was stressed. But his grey eyes were warm, holding hers with an attention that made her skin heat despite the October chill. It's my job, she said lightly, though her heart was racing. It's more than that. He moved closer, and she caught the subtle scent of his cologne, bergamot and cedar, expensive and understated. You make the impossible look effortless. You always have. There was something in his voice, something raw. Martin. She rarely used his first name at work, always maintaining that professional distance, but here, alone under the stars with the muffled sound of the gala behind them, formality felt absurd. I got the Tokyo deal. His words came quickly, as if he'd been holding them back. Nakamura Industries signed this afternoon. It's the biggest acquisition in Ashford history. That's incredible. Genuine joy flooded through her. She'd worked on that deal for 18 months, had organized every meeting, prepared every brief, lived and breathed every detail alongside him. "Martin, this is everything you've worked for. We've worked for," he corrected, and suddenly he was closer, so close she could see the silver threads in his grey eyes, the faint lines of exhaustion around them from too many late nights and too much pressure. "Chloe, I couldn't have done any of this without you. You're not just my assistant, you're the reason any of this works." Her breath caught. This was dangerous territory. Lines were blurring. "It's late," she said softly, though she didn't move away. "You should get back to your guests." "I don't want to." The confession hung between them, vulnerable and devastating. "I'm tired of pretending, Chloe. I'm tired of acting like you're just someone who works for me when you're the first person I think about every morning and the last person I want to see every night." The world tilted. "You don't mean that." But her voice shook, betraying her. "I've never meant anything more." His hand lifted, hovering near her face, asking permission. "Tell me to stop. Tell me this is inappropriate and I'll walk away right now. I'll never mention it again." She should. God, she should. But Chloe Williams had spent her entire life being careful, being smart, protecting herself from men who promised everything and delivered nothing. She'd built walls so high that no one could hurt her again. And yet here was Martin Ashford, brilliant, powerful, impossibly wealthy, looking at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. "I can't tell you to stop," she whispered. His fingers traced her jawline with a reverence that made her eyes flutter closed, and when his lips found hers, it wasn't the kiss of a boss taking advantage. It was the kiss of a man who'd been starving for something he thought he'd never taste. The gala forgotten, the rules forgotten. They surrendered to what had been building between them for months. His penthouse suite was just 2 floors above, all midnight blue luxury and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city that never slept. They barely made it through the door. Chloe had imagined this, in moments of weakness, in dreams she'd never admit to. But reality obliterated every fantasy. Martin's touch was both demanding and tender, stripping away her defenses with every whispered word, every caress that learned her body like he was memorizing a sacred text. "You're extraordinary," he murmured against her skin as silk and tuxedo fabric pooled on Italian marble floors. "Do you have any idea how extraordinary you are?" No one had ever made her feel like this. Seen, cherished, wanted for more than just what she could provide. In his arms, beneath the shimmer of city lights filtering through sheer curtains, Chloe let herself be vulnerable in ways she'd sworn she never would again. It was terrifying. It was perfect. It was the biggest mistake of her life. Now dawn had been cruel. Sunlight streaming through unfamiliar windows, silk sheets tangled around her bare legs, and the crushing weight of reality settling over her chest like concrete. She'd slept with her boss. The man who signed her paychecks, who held her career in his hands, who could destroy everything she'd worked for with a single decision. What had she been thinking? Martin had still been asleep, one arm draped across her waist, his face peaceful in a way she'd never seen during working hours. He'd looked younger, vulnerable, beautiful. She'd extracted herself carefully, gathered her dress, and fled. Back in her Brooklyn brownstone apartment, the one bedroom she'd scrimped and saved for, her first real home after years of instability, Chloe had stood in the shower until the water ran cold, trying to wash away the memory of his hands, his lips, the way he'd whispered her name like a prayer. It didn't work. By 9 o'clock, she'd written the resignation letter. By 10, she'd rehearsed her speech 17 times. By 11, she was standing outside his office, her entire body vibrating with anxiety and something else she refused to name. The intercom crackled. "Ms. Williams, Mr. Ashford will see you now." His voice, smooth, professional, giving nothing away. Chloe's hand tightened on the envelope. This was the right thing, the only thing. She'd find another job, rebuild her career, forget about storm grey eyes and the way he'd held her like she was precious. She could do this. She had to. Taking one final breath, Chloe Williams pushed open the door to Martin Ashford's office, prepared to walk away from the best and worst night of her life. But as their eyes met across the expanse of his mahogany desk, as she saw the raw emotion flickering in his gaze before he carefully schooled it into neutrality, one thought echoed through her mind with devastating clarity. He wasn't going to make this easy. And somewhere deep in her traitorous heart, she realized she didn't want him to. The office smelled like leather and bergamot, familiar and foreign all at once. Chloe had been in this room 1,000 times, bringing coffee, delivering reports, sitting across from Martin while they strategized through impossible deadlines. But she'd never stood here feeling like her heart might shatter through her ribs. Martin rose from behind his desk, every inch the commanding CEO in his charcoal Tom Ford suit. But his eyes, God, his eyes betrayed everything. They swept over her face like he was searching for something, some sign of what she was thinking, feeling, regretting. Chloe. Her name on his lips was different now. Intimate. Weighted with everything that had happened between silk sheets and whispered confessions. "Mr. Ashford." She forced the formality, needing the distance like a shield. "I need to speak with you about—" "Don't." No. He moved around the desk with fluid grace, and suddenly he was too close, his presence overwhelming in the way it always had been, but she'd pretended not to notice. "Please don't call me that. Not after last night." Heat flooded her cheeks. "That's exactly why I'm here." She thrust the envelope toward him, her hand remarkably steady, considering the earthquake happening inside her chest. "This is my resignation. Effective immediately, or I can give 2 weeks if you need time to find a replacement." He didn't take it, didn't even look at it. "No." The single word hung in the air between them, simple and absolute. Chloe blinked. "I'm sorry. I said no." Martin's jaw tightened, a muscle ticking in his cheek. "I'm not accepting your resignation. You don't have a choice." She fought to keep her voice professional, measured. "What happened last night was inappropriate. I crossed a line. We both did. The ethical thing." "The ethical thing?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Chloe, do you think I took advantage of you? Do you think last night was some momentary lapse in judgment that I regret? Wasn't it?" The question came out smaller than she intended. His expression softened, and he reached for her hand, the one not clutching the resignation letter, his fingers wrapping around hers with a gentleness that made her throat tight. "Come sit with me, please. Let me explain something." Every instinct screamed at her to pull away, to maintain distance, to protect herself. But her feet moved toward the leather sofa by the window anyway, betraying her. They sat, the city sprawling below them, and for a long moment Martin simply held her hand, his thumb tracing absent patterns on her skin that sent shivers up her arm. "I've been in love with you for 6 months," he said quietly. The world stopped. "That's not— You can't just—" Chloe pulled her hand back, standing abruptly. "You don't love me, Martin. You barely know me. I know you take your coffee with oat milk and 1 sugar, but you pretend to like it black when we're in meetings because you think it makes you look more serious." His voice was steady, certain. "I know you volunteer at the Brooklyn Youth Center every Saturday morning, teaching kids from foster care how to build resumes and apply for college scholarships. I know you have nightmares sometimes because I've called you after midnight and heard it in your voice when you pretend you weren't sleeping. I know you're terrified of being seen as anything less than perfect, because somewhere along the way, someone made you believe you had to earn the right to take up space. Tears burned behind her eyes. Stop. I know you're brilliant and brave and so damn beautiful it hurts to look at you sometimes. He stood, closing the distance between them. And I know you're scared, but running won't change what happened last night. It won't change how I feel. You're my boss. The words came out desperate. There's a power imbalance. People will think, let them think whatever they want. Easy for you to say. The dam broke, and Chloe's carefully constructed composure cracked. You're Martin Ashford. You're untouchable. But me, I'm the black girl who clawed her way up from nothing. I'm the one they'll whisper about in the break room. I'm the one they'll say slept her way into this job, into this life. Everything I've worked for will be reduced to one stupid night when I forgot who I was and where I came from. The silence that followed her outburst was deafening. Where you came from, Martin repeated slowly, his expression shifting into something that looked like understanding mixed with pain. Chloe, tell me about where you came from. Because in 3 years, you've never once talked about your family, your past, anything before you walked into Ashford Enterprises. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the October sun streaming through the windows. She shouldn't tell him, shouldn't give him more ammunition to hurt her when this inevitably fell apart. But maybe he deserved to understand why she had to leave. I grew up in foster care, she said, her voice flat, emotionless, the tone she'd perfected for caseworkers and court hearings and people who needed to hear her story but didn't really want to feel it. 13 different homes between the ages of 4 and 18. My mother was an addict who couldn't take care of me. I never knew my father. Martin's expression tightened, but he didn't interrupt. I learned early that love was conditional, temporary, that people let you believe you matter, and then they send you away when you become inconvenient or complicated or too expensive to keep around. She met his eyes, willing him to see the truth. I put myself through community college, working 3 jobs. I lived in my car for 4 months during my senior year. I fought for every single thing I have, and I did it by being smart enough, working harder than anyone else, and never, ever giving people a reason to doubt my professionalism. Chloe, I can't be the woman who throws it all away for a man. Her voice broke. I've seen that story before. I lived it once, and it almost destroyed me. What do you mean? She hadn't planned to tell him about Daniel. But the memories were surfacing anyway, dragged up by the vulnerability of this moment. His name was Daniel Pierce. The name tasted bitter on her tongue. I met him during my MBA program. He was charming, successful, everything I thought I wanted. He told me I was special, that he loved me, that we were building a future together. Martin's hands clenched at his sides, like he already knew where this was going. I gave up a job opportunity in Chicago to stay in New York with him. Turned down a promotion because he said he needed me to focus on our relationship. Slowly, piece by piece, he convinced me that my ambitions were selfish, that a real woman supports her man's dreams, not her own. Chloe's laugh was hollow. It took me 2 years to realize he was grooming me to be his perfect accessory. When I finally tried to leave, he destroyed my reputation in our professional circle, told people I was unstable, difficult, that I'd used him for connections, and then became vindictive when he ended things. Jesus, Chloe. I rebuilt myself from that, she continued, needing him to understand. I created a new life, a new reputation. I became someone who couldn't be dismissed or diminished. And then last night happened, and I can feel it all slipping away. Because no matter what you say, no matter what your intentions are, the world will see me as the assistant who seduced her rich boss. Then we'll prove them wrong. Martin's voice was fierce. Together. You don't get it. Frustration bled into her words. You're offering me something that looks like a fairy tale, but fairy tales aren't real. And when this ends, when you get bored, or your mother convinces you I'm not suitable, or you meet someone from your actual social class, I'll be left with nothing. No job, no reputation, no future. I can't risk that. I won't. When this ends, he stepped closer, his presence commanding. You're already planning our expiration date? I'm being realistic. You're being terrified. His hand cupped her cheek, and despite everything, she leaned into his touch. I understand why. After what that bastard did to you, after everything you've survived, I understand. But Chloe, I am not Daniel Pierce. I would never ask you to be less than you are. Your brilliance, your ambition, your strength, those are the things I love most about you. You barely know me, she whispered again, but the protest was weaker now. Then let me know you, really know you, not as my assistant, but as the woman I can't stop thinking about. His thumb brushed away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. Give me a chance to prove I'm worthy of your trust. God, she wanted to believe in the impossible romance, the happy ending, the fantasy of being loved by someone like Martin Ashford. But reality had taught her better. I can't work here anymore, she said finally. Even if there's something between us, I can't be your employee and your... whatever this is. The power dynamic makes it impossible. Then don't be my employee. She stared at him. What? Resign if you need to. I won't accept it today, but if it makes you feel better, you can officially leave Ashford Enterprises. Martin's expression was intense, determined. But don't leave me, Chloe. Stay in my life. Let me take you to dinner. Let me court you properly. Let me show you what this could be when there's no professional boundary in the way. And what do I do for work? Practical concerns invaded the emotional chaos. I have bills, Martin. I don't have family money or trust funds. I have connections all over this city. I'll make calls, write recommendations, open doors. You're talented enough that any company would be lucky to have you. Hell, my competitors have tried to poach you a dozen times. He smiled slightly. You could work for Daniel Pierce's rival firm. I heard they're looking for a vice president of strategic development. The mention of Daniel's name sent a jolt through her. Daniel has a rival firm? Pierce Innovations. They've been trying to steal my patents for 2 years. Martin's expression darkened. He's made several overtures about you specifically. I think he knows how valuable you are and how much losing you would damage my operations. A cold feeling settled in her stomach. Daniel, still circling her life like a predator. I need time, Chloe said finally. I need to think. Take all the time you need. Martin's hand dropped from her face, though his eyes held hers with an intensity that made breathing difficult. But answer me one question honestly. Last night, did you feel anything? Or was it just a mistake you want to forget? The question hung between them, dangerous and essential. Chloe thought about lying, about protecting herself with denial, but something in his vulnerable expression, in the way he was laying himself bare despite the risk, made her choose honesty instead. I felt everything, she whispered. That's why I have to go. Before he could respond, before she could change her mind, Chloe turned and walked toward the door, her resignation letter still clutched in her trembling hand. Chloe. Martin's voice stopped her at the threshold. I'm not giving up on this, on us. I'll wait as long as you need, but I'm not giving up. She didn't turn around, couldn't bear to see his face and maintain her resolve. You should, she said softly. I'm not worth the trouble. That's where you're wrong. His words followed her into the hallway. You're worth everything. Later that evening, in her Brooklyn brownstone apartment with its second-hand furniture and carefully tended plants, Chloe sat across from Rebecca Chen. her best friend since their community college days, the one person who knew every scar and secret. "So, let me get this straight," Rebecca said, pouring them both generous glasses of red wine. "Your devastatingly handsome billionaire boss, who you've been half in love with for months, finally makes a move, gives you the best night of your life, and then declares his feelings for you. And your response is to quit your job and run away? When you say it like that, it sounds ridiculous. That's because it is ridiculous." Rebecca tucked her legs under her on the worn leather couch. "Chloe, I love you, but you're self-sabotaging. I'm being smart. I'm protecting myself." "From what? Happiness?" Rebecca's dark eyes were knowing. "Not every man is Daniel, babe. Martin Ashford isn't some manipulative narcissist trying to control you. He's offering you a real relationship. A relationship that will destroy my career and reputation. Or a relationship that could be the best thing that ever happened to you." Rebecca reached for her hand. "You've spent your whole life believing you're not allowed to want things, that you have to earn the right to be loved. But baby, you deserve romance and passion and grand gestures just as much as anyone else." Chloe's eyes burned. "What if he changes his mind? What if I let myself love him and then he realizes I don't fit into his world?" "What if he doesn't?" Rebecca countered gently. "What if this is real? Are you really going to walk away from the possibility of love because you're scared?" "I'm terrified," Chloe admitted. "I know. But maybe it's time to be brave in a different way. You've been brave about surviving, about fighting, about building a life from nothing. Maybe now you need to be brave enough to let someone in." The words settled over her like a blanket, comforting and suffocating all at once. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Heard you might be looking for new opportunities. Coffee tomorrow? I promise it will be worth your time. Daniel Pierce." Chloe's blood ran cold. How did he know? How did he already know she'd tried to resign? "What's wrong?" Rebecca leaned forward, concern creasing her features. "Daniel just texted me. He knows about this morning. About Martin and me." Chloe's mind raced. Someone told him. Someone at Ashford Enterprises is feeding him information. That's really concerning. He's playing some kind of game. Chloe stood, pacing the small living room. "And I'm right in the middle of it." Another text came through, this time from Martin. "Can we talk, please? I need to tell you something about my past. Something that might help you understand why I know what I'm asking for." M. Two men. Two very different offers. Two very different futures. And Chloe Williams, who'd spent her whole life learning to trust only herself, now had to decide if she was brave enough to trust her heart instead. The restaurant was exactly the kind of place Daniel Pierce would choose. All dark wood and leather booths, where Manhattan's elite conducted business over $30 cocktails and 18-ounce steaks. Chloe sat across from him 24 hours after his text, her spine straight, her expression carefully neutral. He looked the same. Devastatingly handsome in that calculated way. Sandy hair, styled with precision, designer suit cut to emphasize his athletic build, that charming smile that had once made her feel like the only woman in the world. Now it just made her skin crawl. "You look incredible," Daniel said, his blue eyes traveling over her in a way that felt possessive, despite their years apart. "Success suits you, Chloe." "What do you want, Daniel?" She had no patience for games. "Straight to business." "I always admired that about you." He leaned back, swirling his whiskey. "I heard through the grapevine that you might be looking for a change. I have an opportunity that could be very lucrative for you." "How did you hear that?" The question came sharp. "I haven't told anyone except—" She stopped, realization dawning. "You have someone inside Ashford Enterprises." His smile widened. "I have connections everywhere. You know that." "Who told you?" "Does it matter?" Daniel pulled a folder from his briefcase, sliding it across the table. Vice President of Strategic Development at Pierce Innovations, 250,000 base salary, performance bonuses that could double that, full benefits and your own team. You'd be reporting directly to me, but I promise to keep things professional. The way he said that last word made her stomach turn. Chloe didn't touch the folder. Why would you offer me this? We haven't spoken in 3 years. Because you're brilliant and I made a mistake letting you go. His expression shifted into something that might have been regret if she didn't know better. I was young, stupid, threatened by your talent. I handled things poorly, and I've regretted it ever since. You destroyed my reputation. I know. He had the audacity to look ashamed. I was angry and jealous, and completely out of line. I've spent the past few years trying to become a better man. This is me making amends. It was a good performance, convincing even, but Chloe had learned to see through Daniel's masks. You don't do anything without an agenda, she said quietly. So what is it? You want to hurt Martin, steal his assistant to destabilize his operations, get insider information on Ashford Enterprises? Maybe I just want to give you the career you deserve. His eyes hardened slightly. Martin Ashford is using you, Chloe. He sees you as convenient, accessible, a beautiful woman who anticipates his every need and doesn't require the effort of actual courtship. Do you really think someone like him, old money, connected to every powerful family on the East Coast, sees you as an equal? The words landed like poisoned darts, hitting insecurities she'd tried to bury. You don't know anything about Martin. I know his type. Daniel leaned forward, his voice dropping to an intimate register that once would have made her lean in too. I know he's had a string of relationships with employees, always women beneath his social station who he can control. I know his mother has already started making calls, trying to figure out who you are and whether you're a threat to the Ashford legacy. And I know that when this blows up, and it will, you'll be the one left picking up the pieces while he moves on to the next pretty face. We're done here. Chloe stood, her chair scraping against polished hardwood. Think about the offer, Daniel called after her. And Chloe, be careful. Men like Martin Ashford don't fall in love with women like us. They collect us. The Upper East Side townhouse was exactly what Chloe had imagined. 5 stories of pristine limestone and old money, with an elegance that spoke of generations of wealth. She stood on the sidewalk, staring up at the place Martin had texted her to meet him, doubt coiling in her stomach. Maybe Daniel was right. Maybe she was deluding herself. Her phone buzzed. I'm in the garden out back. Come around the side gate. The garden was an oasis of calm in the city's chaos. Mature trees, climbing roses, a fountain that whispered over stone. And there was Martin, sitting on a wrought-iron bench, still in his work clothes, but with his tie loosened, his expression weary in a way that made him look human rather than untouchable. Thank you for coming, he said softly as she approached. You said you needed to tell me something about your past. Chloe sat beside him, maintaining careful distance. I did. He was quiet for a long moment, gathering words. 5 years ago, I was engaged to a woman named Isabelle Rousseau. She was French, brilliant, beautiful. We met at Oxford during my MBA program. Everyone said we were perfect together. Same background, same goals, same world. Jealousy flared hot and unexpected in Chloe's chest. What happened? We were planning a spring wedding. Everything was arranged. The venue in Provence, 400 guests. My mother had already bought her dress. His voice went flat, emotionless, in the way that meant he was protecting himself. 3 weeks before the ceremony, Isabelle was killed in a car accident. A drunk driver ran a red light in Paris. She died instantly. Oh my God! Chloe's hand found his without thinking. Martin, I'm so sorry. My mother blamed me. The confession came raw, painful. She said I'd been working too much, that I'd neglected Isabel, that if I'd been with her that night instead of at the office, it never would have happened. And maybe she was right. Maybe if I'd prioritized the woman I loved over a business deal, she'd still be alive. That's not... Chloe shook her head. You can't blame yourself for a drunk driver's actions. Logically, I know that. But grief isn't logical. He looked at their joined hands, his thumb stroking over her knuckles. After Isabel died, I threw myself into work. I built Ashford Enterprises into what it is today because I needed something to fill the empty spaces. I dated occasionally, but never seriously. Never let anyone get close enough to hurt me again. Until now, she whispered. Until you. His grey eyes met hers, vulnerable and fierce. You weren't supposed to matter, Chloe. You were just my assistant. Brilliant and beautiful, yes, but safe. I could admire you from a distance, could rationalize my attraction as simple appreciation for talent, but somewhere along the way, you became essential. Not because you made my life easier, but because you made me remember what it felt like to want something beyond success. Her throat tightened. I had coffee with Daniel this morning. Martin's jaw clenched. What did he want? To offer me a job, vice president at Pierce Innovations. Very generous salary, my own team. She watched his reaction. He also told me you have a history of relationships with employees, that your mother is already investigating me, that I'm being naive to think this is real. And you believed him? I don't know what to believe. Frustration bled into her voice. You're telling me this tragic story, and part of me thinks you're being genuine. But another part wonders if you're just really good at knowing what to say to keep me hooked. What would it take? Martin turned to face her fully. What would I have to do to prove I'm not playing games? I don't know, the words burst out of her. I've spent my entire adult life learning to protect myself from men who say pretty things but don't mean them. How am I supposed to tell the difference? Because I'm not asking you to change. I'm not asking you to give anything up. His hands framed her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. I'm asking you to let me be part of your life as you continue building it. I'm offering support, not control. Partnership, not possession. Your mother is a problem I will handle. Victoria Ashford doesn't run my life, and she sure as hell doesn't get to decide who I love. The word hung between them. Love. He'd said it so casually, like it was already established fact, rather than terrifying possibility. I need ground rules, Chloe said finally. If I stay at Ashford Enterprises, and that's a big if, things have to change. Name them. We keep our professional and personal lives completely separate. At work, I'm your assistant, period. No special treatment, no favoritism, no indication that we're anything other than colleagues. Agreed. We move slowly. No rushing into anything, no grand declarations, no pressure. How slowly? I don't know yet. She pulled back slightly, needing physical space to think. I've never done this before, trying to date someone while working for them. It feels impossible. Then maybe you shouldn't work for me. Martin's words were careful. Not as my assistant, at least. What if I promote you, give you your own division, your own team? You'd report to the board rather than directly to me. That looks just as bad, maybe worse. Or I accept your resignation and you take Daniel's offer. Chloe's eyes snapped to his. You'd be okay with me working for your rival. I'd hate it, but if that's what you need to feel safe, to feel like you have your own power and identity separate from me, then yes, I'll write you a glowing recommendation letter and watch you walk into Pierce Innovations, knowing Daniel is going to use every opportunity to poison you against me. You really think he'd do that? I know he would. Daniel Pierce has been trying to destroy me for 3 years, ever since I outbid him on a patent acquisition. He's ruthless, vindictive, and he clearly sees you as both an asset and a weapon. Martin's expression hardened. He's also the man who almost broke you once. I don't trust him anywhere near you. That's not your decision. You're right. It's not. He stood, shoving his hands into his pockets. This is your life, Chloe. Your career. Your choice. I can tell you what I want, but I can't make you stay. I won't try to manipulate or control you. That's not love. The word, again. Love. Do you really love me? The question came out smaller than she intended. Or is this just attraction, chemistry, the thrill of something forbidden? Martin moved closer, slowly, giving her time to retreat if she wanted. I love that you organize my calendar with color-coded efficiency, but your own apartment is chaos. I love that you pretend to hate rom-coms, but cry every time we watch one during late flights. I love your laugh when you're genuinely surprised, the way you bite your lip when you're thinking, how you say my name when you're exasperated with me. Each word chipped away at her defenses. I love your strength, but I'm also completely undone by your vulnerability. His voice dropped to a whisper. And yes, I love the way you taste, the sounds you make, how your body fits against mine like we were designed for each other. But Chloe, the physical part, that's just a fraction of why I can't let you go. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I need time, she managed. Take it. Take all the time you need. He stepped back, giving her space again. But stay at Ashford Enterprises. Not for me. For you. Because you built a reputation there. Because you're incredible at what you do. Because running away from Daniel Pierce again means letting him win. He was right. God help her. He was right. Okay, she whispered. I'll stay. As your assistant. With clear boundaries. Clear boundaries, he agreed. I can work with that. And we try this. Whatever this is. Slowly. Slowly, he repeated, though his smile suggested patience was going to kill him. But Martin, Chloe met his eyes, needing him to understand. If this falls apart, if it becomes too complicated, or your mother makes my life hell, or I can't handle the pressure, I'm gone. I will not sacrifice my career or my sanity for a relationship, no matter how I feel about you. Fair enough. He extended his hand formally. Do we have an agreement? She looked at his offered hand, strong, elegant, currently steady despite the stakes of this moment. Taking it meant risking everything. Not taking it meant losing the possibility of something extraordinary. Chloe Williams had spent her life playing it safe. Maybe it was time to try something different. Her hand slipped into his, their fingers intertwining with a rightness that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. We have an agreement. In a penthouse apartment 17 blocks away, Victoria Ashford stood by her window overlooking Central Park, a crystal glass of Bordeaux in her hand and a private investigator's report on her desk. Chloe Marie Williams, age 28. Background, foster care system, various New York facilities, education, City College, Columbia MBA. Current position, executive assistant to Martin Ashford. The photographs were particularly interesting. Chloe entering Martin's building the night of the gala, leaving early the next morning in the same dress, meeting with Daniel Pierce that afternoon, and finally spending nearly 2 hours with Martin at the townhouse garden. Victoria had raised her son to understand duty, legacy, responsibility. The Ashford name meant something. It had meant something for 6 generations. And she would be damned if some opportunistic girl with a questionable background and professional ambition was going to derail everything she'd worked to protect. She picked up her phone, dialing a familiar number. It's Victoria. I need you to dig deeper into Chloe Williams, past relationships, financial records, anything we can use. A pause. And reach out to Daniel Pierce. I think it's time we had a conversation about mutual interests. The pieces were moving into place. And Victoria Ashford always won. The Ashford estate stretched along the Hamptons coastline like a dream. Chloe stood at her guest suite window watching waves crash against Private Beach, wondering what she was doing here. 3 weeks had passed since their agreement. 3 weeks of careful professionalism at the office, stolen moments, text messages sent after midnight. And now this, a weekend business retreat to finalize the Nakamura acquisition. Just the two of them, skeleton staff and 47 rooms of temptation. Your boundaries are about to be tested, Rebecca had warned. Romantic estate, a man you're crazy about, zero professional buffer. Girl, you're playing with fire. A knock at her door. Martin stood there, casual in dark jeans and grey cashmere, hair windswept. Dinner's ready on the terrace, unless you'd prefer your room. The terrace is fine. The terrace was breathtaking. Weathered stone, climbing wisteria, table set for two overlooking the sea. Candles flickered. Sunset painted everything gold and rose. This is very... Chloe searched for words. Romantic? I told staff to set up a workspace. This is what they interpreted. Dinner was simple perfection. Grilled fish, roasted vegetables, crisp white wine. They talked business at first, reviewing contracts. But as the sky darkened and stars emerged, conversation shifted. Tell me something you've never told anyone, Martin said suddenly. Dangerous question, but something about this moment made honesty feel inevitable. I have a scar on my left shoulder blade. From when I was 7. One of my foster mothers had a boyfriend who got drunk and threw a bottle. I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Martin's expression darkened. Jesus. I told the social worker I fell. I was terrified they'd separate me from the other kids. I'd made a friend, Maya. The idea of being alone was worse than stitches. Maya got adopted 6 months later. I never saw her again. She remembers, Martin said softly. How could she forget you? Your turn. Tell me something you've never told anyone. Long silence. I was driving the car the night Isabel died. Chloe's breath caught. What? We'd had a fight. She wanted me to skip a meeting for a gallery opening. I said no. She left angry, took a taxi instead of letting me drive her. If I'd just gone with her, she would have been in my car. She'd still be alive. Martin, that's not... I know it's not rational. 5 years of therapy to understand that. But knowing intellectually and feeling emotionally are different things. After she died, I promised myself I'd never let work matter more than people I love. But then I just stopped having people to love. Safer that way. Until me, Chloe whispered. Until you scare the hell out of me. Because losing you would destroy me in ways I'm not sure I'd survive. Then we're even. You terrify me too. They sat in comfortable silence, hands joined, something shifting between them. Walk with me? The beach was deserted, cool sand beneath bare feet. When she shivered, Martin pulled her close, his warmth seeping into her skin. I could get used to this, she admitted. The beach, the estate, or me. All of it. That's the problem. She stopped, turning to face him. I keep waiting for reality to crash in. What if this isn't a fairy tale? What if it's just two people who found something worth fighting for? Is it worth fighting for? Your mother hates me. Daniel's circling. Everyone will figure out something's happening. Let them figure it out. He kissed her forehead. I'm not ashamed of this. Of us. We agreed to go slowly. Is this slow enough? His lips grazed her jawline. No. But her hands were in his hair. Should I stop? Absolutely not. The kiss was inevitable, devastating, everything the first one had been and more. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Martin rested his forehead against hers. Come back to the house with me, not to my room, just stay with me. Talk, let me hold you. Let this be real for one night. Every logical part of her screamed warnings, but Chloe was tired of being careful. Okay, one night. The library was her favorite room. Leather-bound books, mahogany shelves, crackling fireplace. They curled together on an oversized sofa, Chloe against Martin's chest, his fingers playing with her curls. Tell me about your dreams, not professional ones, real ones. I want a home, a real home, not just an apartment. Somewhere with a garden where I can grow herbs, a kitchen big enough to cook for people I love, guest rooms for friends who need a safe place. She laughed self-consciously. Sounds silly. It sounds beautiful. What about you? Peace, quiet. A life where success isn't measured in acquisitions. Sunday mornings reading the newspaper, learning to cook, traveling for pleasure, and someone to share it all with. Someone like me? Exactly like you. They talked for hours, books, music, places they'd been and wanted to go, childhood wounds, adult dreams. Martin told her about learning to sail with his father before cancer took him. Chloe shared stories about the teacher who believed in her, working night shifts to pay for textbooks. Somewhere around 3 a.m, exhaustion caught up. Chloe's eyes drifted closed, head on Martin's chest, his heartbeat steady beneath her ear. Stay here tonight, sleep here. I just want to hold you. Okay, she whispered. She woke to sunlight and Martin's grey eyes watching her. Good morning. How long have you been awake? An hour, maybe 2. I didn't want to move and wake you. His fingers traced her cheekbone. You're beautiful when you sleep, like all the walls come down. That's dangerous. You see too much. Maybe I want to see too much. His phone buzzed insistently, then again. Ignore it, Chloe said, but tension was creeping in. Martin reached for the phone, expression darkening. It's my mother. She's in the Hamptons. She wants to come by for brunch. Now. In 2 hours. She never comes without notice. Something's wrong. She knows about us. Probably. Martin's jaw tightened. She has investigators. What do we do? He turned to look at her, expression fierce. We have brunch, we face her together, and we don't apologize for a damn thing. Martin, maybe I should leave. No, I'm not hiding you. We face this together or not at all. She's going to make my life hell. She's going to try. But Chloe, I need you to trust me. Can you do that? Looking into his eyes, seeing determination and fear and love, she nodded. Together. Victoria Ashford arrived exactly on time. Emerging from a Mercedes in cream Chanel, platinum hair perfect, diamonds glinting, expression radiating aristocratic disapproval. Mother. Martin kissed her cheek stiffly. Unexpected. Is it? Victoria's eyes slid to Chloe with surgical precision. I had a feeling I should check on you. Victoria, this is Chloe Williams, though you've probably had her investigated. Ms. Williams. Victoria extended a hand with all the warmth of a snake. Martin's assistant, correct? How fortunate for him. Brunch was excruciating. Staff served eggs Benedict and mimosas, while Victoria conducted an interrogation disguised as polite conversation. Where did you say your family was from, dear? I didn't. I grew up in foster care. How difficult. No family connections, no social network. But you've done well. 28, isn't it? It is. Martin, darling, I ran into Patricia Montgomery. Her daughter Elizabeth is back from London. You remember Elizabeth from Yale? The message was clear. Here's someone appropriate. Martin's hand found Chloe's under the table. I remember Elizabeth. I'm not interested. I'm simply saying you might expand your social circle. You've been so isolated since Isabel. I worry about whether you're making decisions based on genuine feeling or just loneliness. My decisions are my own, Mother. Everything about this family is my concern. The Ashford name has meant something for 6 generations. I won't watch you throw it away for... For what? Martin's voice was dangerously quiet. Say it. For an infatuation that will damage your reputation. You seem intelligent, Miss Williams. Surely you understand this situation benefits you far more than Martin. Some might say you've played your cards strategically. The implication hung like poison. Chloe felt rage and humiliation war inside her. But the part that had survived 13 foster homes and Daniel Pierce refused to give Victoria the satisfaction. You're right. I am intelligent. Intelligent enough to know my worth, to recognize manipulation, and to understand that your opinion says more about you than me. Victoria's eyes widened. I don't need Martin's connections or money. I've built my career on merit, and I'm not interested in your legacy or social circles or outdated ideas about who belongs in your world. But I am interested in your son. If that makes me inappropriate, I'll wear that label proudly. She stood. I'm going back to the city. This was a mistake. Chloe! Martin stood too. Sit down, both of you. Victoria's composure cracked. Please. Something in her tone made them pause. I didn't come to insult you or meddle. I came because Daniel Pierce contacted me 3 days ago. He told me things about your relationship. Things he plans to make public if certain conditions aren't met. Chloe's blood ran cold. What conditions? He wants proprietary information, patent applications, development pipelines, client lists, and he's threatening to leak a story about Martin having an inappropriate relationship with his assistant, complete with manufactured evidence. It would be devastating to both your careers. Martin's fists clenched. That son of a bitch. He's playing a dangerous game. Whether I approve of this relationship or not, I won't let some parasite destroy my son. Victoria's expression was grim, or his reputation. Chloe sank back into her chair, the fight draining out. This was it, reality crashing in, proof that fairy tales didn't exist. What do we do? Victoria and Martin exchanged a long look. We fight, Victoria said finally, together, as a family. The word hung in the air. Family. An offering and a warning. Chloe looked at Martin, seeing determination, fear, love. She thought about Maya Rodriguez, about Daniel Pierce, about every time she'd played it safe and still gotten hurt. Maybe it was time to try something different. Then let's fight, Chloe said. And as Victoria nodded with something like respect, as Martin's hand found hers again, Chloe Williams realized she wasn't alone anymore. She was in this, all in. The Ashford Enterprises annual shareholder gala glittered with opulence. Crystal chandeliers, champagne flowing, New York's elite moving through the Plaza Hotel ballroom with practiced grace. Chloe stood at the edge in a stunning midnight blue gown that hugged every curve. Rebecca had called it a warrior princess dress. You look like you're about to walk into battle, Rebecca had said while fixing Chloe's hair. I am, Chloe had replied. 2 weeks had passed since the Hamptons revelation. 2 weeks of strategy sessions with Martin and Victoria, preparing for Daniel's move. They'd discovered his informant, a junior analyst he'd been paying, secured their patents, alerted legal teams, done everything possible, but tonight felt like standing at a cliff's edge. You're thinking too loud. Martin appeared beside her, devastating in black tuxedo. I can practically hear your thoughts. I'm thinking about all the ways this could go wrong. Think about the ways it could go right. His hand brushed hers. We have truth on our side. Does it? In a world like this? Before Martin could respond, Victoria materialized. He's here. Daniel just arrived. With guests. Chloe followed her gaze to where Daniel stood near the entrance, flanked by 2 board members from Pierce Innovations, both known for ruthless tactics. He's not wasting time, Martin muttered. Neither will we. Victoria's eyes hardened. Remember the plan. Let him make his move. Don't react emotionally. Trust each other. She swept away to greet shareholders. I should circulate, Chloe said. People are staring. Let them stare. I'm tired of pretending you don't mean everything to me. Martin. Good evening, Ashford. Daniel's smooth voice cut through. Wonderful event, very intimate. Pierce, I don't recall you being on the guest list. I'm here as a courtesy. Thought you might want to hear my offer before I make unfortunate decisions. Daniel's eyes slid to Chloe. Hello, Chloe. Stunning. That dress must have cost several months' salary. The implication was clear, still just the hired help. What do you want, Daniel? What's fair, what I'm owed. He pulled out a familiar folder. I have documentation. Emails discussing company business from Martin's residence, security footage of you entering and leaving his penthouse at unusual hours, testimony from employees about inappropriate behavior. All fabricated or taken out of context, Martin said coldly. Maybe. But context doesn't matter in public opinion, does it? I'm prepared to release this to every major financial publication. The story writes itself. Powerful CEO exploits vulnerable employee. Stock prices plummet. Board members ask uncomfortable questions. And what do you want to make this disappear? The Nakamura patent applications, complete access to your AI development pipeline, and Chloe comes to work for me. Daniel's expression turned sympathetic. Generous offer, really. You keep your reputation mostly intact. Chloe gets an excellent position. I get what I've been working toward. And if we refuse, then I destroy you both. Starting tonight. I have reporters waiting for my signal. You have 10 minutes to decide. Then I hold a press conference right here and watch your world burn. He walked away. Martin's jaw worked. We don't negotiate with terrorists. We might have to. Martin, your company means nothing without my integrity, without you. He took her hands, oblivious to watching eyes. I won't sacrifice you to save Ashford Enterprises. I won't let him win. But if you lose the company, then I'll build something new with you. I don't care about stock prices or board members. I care about you, about us, about not living in fear. Across the ballroom, Daniel was conferring with associates, phone in hand, preparing to execute his threat. Victoria appeared. The board chairman just asked me why Pierce is here. We're running out of time. Then let's not waste it. Martin released Chloe's hands and strode toward the raised platform where speeches were scheduled. Martin, what are you doing? Victoria hissed, but he was already climbing the steps, taking the microphone, his presence commanding enough that conversations faded into expectant silence. Good evening. I apologize for interrupting, but there's something I need to address, something I should have addressed months ago. Chloe's heart hammered. This wasn't the plan. Many of you know me as Martin Ashford, CEO of Ashford Enterprises, heir to a legacy spanning 6 generations. But tonight, I'm not here as a CEO. I'm here as a man who's been hiding the most important part of his life because he was afraid of judgment. Whispers rippled through the crowd. 3 months ago, I fell in love with my executive assistant. Her name is Chloe Williams, and she's the most extraordinary person I've ever met. Brilliant, compassionate, stronger than anyone I know. She grew up in foster care and built a career through determination and talent. She's helped me become a better leader, a better man. And yes, she works for me, which creates complications. Daniel was moving through the crowd now, expression furious, but Martin continued. So let me address those questions directly. Did I abuse my position? No. Did she pursue me for career advancement? Absolutely not. If anything, she tried repeatedly to maintain professional distance, while I pursued her with intensity that probably violated HR protocols. Nervous laughter scattered through the audience. Someone here tonight is prepared to manufacture a scandal around our relationship, to use fabricated evidence to damage both our reputations and destabilize this company. I could play along, could pretend Chloe means nothing, could sacrifice personal happiness to preserve corporate image. But I've spent 5 years living in fear, avoiding connection, choosing safety over vulnerability, and I'm done. The ballroom was utterly silent. The truth is, I love Chloe Williams. I intend to be with her, support her, build a life with her. If that costs me shareholders, so be it. If that damages stock prices, we'll recover. But I will not compromise my integrity or hers by pretending she's just an employee. His eyes found Daniel in the crowd. And to anyone who wants to weaponize our relationship for their own gain, go ahead, release your fabricated documents, call your reporters, but know that I have legal teams ready to sue for defamation, that I've already reported attempted corporate espionage to federal authorities, and that I'm prepared to burn every bridge to protect the woman I love. The ballroom erupted. Gasps, whispers, scattered applause. Victoria stood frozen. Daniel looked apoplectic. And Chloe felt tears streaming down her face as Martin descended the platform and walked directly toward her, the crowd parting. I'm sorry. I know this wasn't the plan, but I couldn't let him make you feel small, couldn't let another moment pass with you thinking I'm ashamed of us. You just committed career suicide in front of the entire New York financial community. I know. His smile was beautiful, reckless, free. Worth it? She could only nod as he pulled her into his arms, kissing her in front of 500 witnesses. When they finally broke apart, Victoria had materialized beside them. That was the most impulsive, reckless, emotionally driven speech I've ever witnessed. Martin straightened, preparing for censure. It was also the most authentic thing you've done in 5 years. Your father would have been proud. She turned to Chloe, extending her hand with real warmth. Welcome to the family, Ms. Williams, officially. The aftermath was chaos. Daniel stormed out, threats hollow now. Several board members approached with concerns, but others offered congratulations. Apparently, corporate America was more progressive than Chloe had expected, or Martin's reputation was solid enough to weather this storm. Rebecca appeared, pressing champagne into Chloe's hand. Girl, if you don't marry this man, I will. I need air. Overwhelmed by attention and emotion, Chloe slipped out to the plaza's terrace. Running away, Martin's voice came from behind. Processing. Martin, what you did was terrifying and necessary. I meant every word. Your company will survive. And if some board members want to leave over this, good riddance. He took her hand. I spent 5 years playing it safe, being the perfect CEO, the dutiful son. And I was miserable. And now I'm terrified, exhilarated, more alive than I've been since before Isabel died. You taught me that being vulnerable isn't weakness. It might not work out. We might be a disaster, or we might be extraordinary. We might build something beautiful, have the home with the garden you dream about, host dinners for foster kids, travel and argue and make up and grow old together. That's a lot of hypotheticals. You've ruined my carefully cultivated cynicism. Chloe laughed. I love you. I think I've loved you for months, but I was too scared to feel it. And now I'm still scared. But I'm done running. So yes, let's try the hypotheticals. Let's be brave together. His kiss tasted like champagne and promise. 6 months later, the garden wasn't perfect yet. Some herbs had succumbed to Chloe's overzealous watering, and the tomato plants were more ambitious than productive. But it was hers. Theirs, she corrected, watching Martin through the kitchen window as he attempted to assemble an outdoor table with more determination than skill. The brownstone in Brooklyn Heights had been her idea, something with history and character. Martin had agreed immediately, then promptly bought it and insisted on renovating the kitchen to her exact specifications. They'd compromised. She'd accepted his financial support for renovations. He'd agreed to let her pay half the utilities. "Is it supposed to have this many pieces left over?" Martin called, holding up screws. "That seems problematic." Chloe brought him a beer, kissing his temple. "Want help? From someone who couldn't assemble a bookshelf? I'll take my chances." But he was smiling, relaxed in jeans and an old t-shirt, looking happier than she'd ever seen him. "How was your meeting?" "Good. Great, actually. The Foundation Board approved expanding the mentorship program to 6 more cities. We'll be helping nearly 300 foster youth next year." After the gala, Chloe had officially resigned from Ashford Enterprises. Martin had connected her with non-profit organizations, and within 2 months she'd become Director of Development for a foundation focusing on foster care advocacy. The pay was half what she'd made, but the satisfaction was immeasurable. "I'm proud of you," Martin said quietly. "I'm proud of us. We survived the scandal, the gossip, your mother's continued interference. She's gotten better. She asked me last week if we're planning to provide her with grandchildren. We've been together 6 months. That is better. Last month she was asking about engagement rings." Chloe laughed. Victoria had indeed softened, though she still occasionally made pointed comments about appropriate wedding venues. But she'd also donated generously to Chloe's foundation and showed up to fundraising events. "Speaking of engagement rings," Martin said casually, "Martin Ashford, do not... I'm not proposing yet." He grinned at her expression. "But theoretically, if I were to propose at some point in the near or distant future, what would you say?" "Theoretically. Purely hypothetical." Chloe studied him, this brilliant, broken, beautiful man who'd chosen her over safety, over propriety, over everything his world had told him mattered. Who learned to cook for her, even though he was terrible. Who hosted Sunday dinners for her mentees. Who held her during nightmares and celebrated her victories. "Theoretically, I'd probably say yes, after making you sweat for at least 5 minutes. Only 5 minutes? I'm feeling generous." His smile was brilliant, and when he kissed her, Chloe tasted the future. Later that evening, as the sun set over their beloved garden, as they ate take-out Thai food on the successfully assembled table, as Martin's phone buzzed with work emails he ignored, Chloe Williams realized something profound. Fairy tales weren't about perfection. They weren't about princes rescuing helpless girls. Real fairy tales were about 2 flawed people choosing each other every single day. About building something beautiful from broken pieces. About being brave enough to try even when the ending wasn't guaranteed. And this, their garden, their home, their life, was the truest fairy tale she'd ever known. "What are you thinking?" Martin asked, catching her reflective expression. "That I would have said yes in 30 seconds, not 5 minutes." His laughter rang out across the garden, joyful and free, and Chloe knew with absolute certainty that she was exactly where she belonged.